Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to show you all how to add applique onto a netting of a dress. This is the one that I actually sewed down. It is not a part of the dress, but I sewed it down, and as you can see, it looks like it just came a part of the dress. So I'm going to teach you guys how to sew an applique onto a dress. This is how it looks like before with it pinned down, and this is it after. So I hope you guys enjoy. First things you're gonna need is scissors, pins, and applique. So I'm working on a prom dress at the moment, and if you can see, there's a lot of empty, scarce spaces in between each applique. And for those of you who don't know, an applique is just kind of a little piece of decoration. So this is an applique. And as you can see, there's only netting on this side and in a lot of other places. So I'm just going to teach you really quick how to apply the applique onto the dress. As I said, you're going to need scissors and pins, but you're also going to need a hand needle with the same color applique as the garment that you're doing, or the applique. Now, if you were putting, hypothetically speaking, a black applique on blue fabric, you would probably want to get a black thread to match the applique, because that's the only thing you're going to be able to really see is the applique on. So this applique right here is pinned on. Actually, it's not a part of the dress, but everything else is already on the dress. It's connected to the netting. I just want to fill up these empty spaces. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my applique and I'm going to cut out the netting. This is the applique, and as you can see, there's a lot of netting. We want to cut out this netting around the applique so that we're only left with that portion. For example, like this one, as you can see, there's no netting. So we want something like this. But on its heads up, you don't ever want to cut your applique on blunt lines. This is a bad example of a good applique because it is too blunt. When you cut an applique piece, you kind of want to follow the pattern of the applique in itself, so don't cut it bluntly. This will not give you good results. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the netting around and show you guys how to cut jagged edges so that your applique doesn't have this blunt cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. Okay, perfect. Now, to get rid of this blunt cut that we have at the edge, what I'm gonna do is just follow the swirls of the applique. Also, this applique is way too big to fill up the little spot that we just wanna cover up here. So what I'm going to do is also cut the applique into about 3 pieces. So I'm gonna cut along the curve here. And that is 1 piece. Also, I didn't cut this really well, so I can go back and I've heard some people say to not cut, like to leave a little bit of lace on the edges so when you sew. I don't normally follow that rule. I like my edges to be totally clean, but it's up to you really. But I'm just gonna leave this here just for the purpose of the demo. That's gonna be my piece of applique. So basically off camera, I just cut out these applique pieces. This again also still has the blunt cut, but I cut these applique pieces, and all I'm really gonna do is just find a place, a home for these pieces. So this is the dress. So basically when you have an open space, you're just going to try and fit and see which is best. The best way to fit in an applique is to cover up the most surface area as possible in one piece. So you might want to do something like this so that all the pieces are full in reach and that everything is all connected. The reason why I do this is because, in my opinion, I think it just looks more expensive. So you're just gonna basically kind of see which pieces kind of fit better in each position. You could do something like that, and that is just how it goes. And if you guys are looking at the jewel bead on top, it's kind of the same thing. You're just figuring out which place the applique looks better. So, and then it looks like, you know, no one sewed it down, it just came like that. So that's where I'm going to be working at right now. So I already have a piece that fits perfect, and that piece is this piece right here, the piece that is lifting. This is just a pinned piece. So because now you guys know how to cut an applique and how to kind of give it curly edges to make it look like it comes from the dress, I'm going to now show you guys how I sew down the applique onto the fabric. You can do this with any design that you want. So I'm gonna get my needle and we're gonna sew down this applique. Okay, so now for this, you want to get the same color thread as your applique and your dress. This one's a bit darker. It's not totally perfect, but it's close enough, which is good. And you're just going to get a needle and thread your needle and knot it at the end.
So in terms of if you should double thread it or single thread it, I normally double thread it just so it could be more secure, but it's totally up to you what you want to do.
So now my needle is threaded, and this is my needle. All I'm going to do with the applique, I want to just, there's a lining or a backing underneath this fabric. I don't want to sew into the backing, because if I sew into the backing, it's going to bunch up. It may bunch up in certain places if I sew it down to the backing. You could also machine sew it with like a zigzag stitch if you want to also do that. But if I sew it down to the backing, it may bunch up. So I just want to sew it on the mesh where the applique is on. So all I'm going to do is grab a piece of the mesh and then grab a piece of the applique and pull. And that's all I'm gonna do, is go under and over. Under and over. And this is the, if you don't want your thread to show at all, maybe you don't have a right color thread, never do a contrasting color. But if it's like maybe you have a black, this is the best way so that the thread won't show as obviously. But obviously you want to get a thread color that is very similar, if not the same color, as your applique, so it doesn't look crazy. So this is what you would do, just in and out. And I'm only doing it along the edges. If you do it in the middle, it's just going to be a waste of time. The best efficient way is just to do it on the outside borders of the whole entire applique. And you just go in and out, basically like this. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you guys the final results of it. And just before I do, I'm just showing you guys in depth. You're just going in the applique and out of the applique, just like so. I hope you guys can see that, just like so. And as you can see, it doesn't remove itself. And you want to just make sure you're going as close as the other appliques as the one you're sewing down, so that there's really not a lot of empty spaces. So I'm going to sew that whole thing down and then show you guys the final results. So be back. Okay guys, so that is the finished product. This is the applique that I sewed down, and as you can see, it is unmovable. It looks like it just came from the netting in itself. And so that is what I cut out and put there. And this is the front portion of my dress. after I apply all my applique down to the netting in every portion that I want it to be, I would connect then the front of the dress to the back of the dress. But this is just how it is, and as you can see, it looks like it was supposed to be there. And once I cover in all the other empty spaces, this dress is going to really come together. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video on how to apply an applique onto the netting of a dress. And I really hope it was helpful. And if you guys are going to try this out, please comment down in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video if it was helpful. See you guys next time. Bye.